In the heart of Ibadan, a boy was born into a family of deep faith and tradition. His name was Elijah Abi. His parents, devout believers, raised him with stories of miracles, of prophets who called fire from heaven, parted seas, and walked through flames untouched. But the story that lived in Elijah's heart, the one that stirred something deep within him, was the story of Daniel and the lion's den. Even as a child, Elijah was different. He didn't just pray. He fasted for days, saying he was seeking divine power beyond the ordinary. While other boys played in the streets, he spent hours in the family's small church, reading the Bible by candlelight, whispering prayers with a fervor that frightened even his own mother, Benhairs. She would often say, "Elijah, God gives wisdom too, not just power. Do not test him." But Elijah would only smile, saying, "Mama, faith without works is dead." As he grew, his conviction deepened. By the time he was a teenager, people whispered about him, about his prayers that seemed to shake walls, about his voice that echoed like thunder. His father, once skeptical of his son's strange ways, began to believe that Elijah was destined for greatness. And when Elijah performed his first miracle, healing a sick child in the neighborhood, the whispers turned into shouts. By 25, Elijah was no longer just a believer. He was a prophet. People traveled from distant villages to hear him preach. He spoke of faith that could move mountains, of a God who still performed wonders in modern times. And yet, through all his teachings, one message remained constant: fear is the enemy of faith. It was this belief that led him to his greatest test, the act that would define and ultimately destroy him. He would do what Daniel in the Bible did. He would step into the lion's den. For decades, Elijah Abi preached with passion, performed miracles, and built a following that stretched beyond Nigeria. His name was spoken with reverence. His words were held like divine prophecy. He had led crusades in Lagos, healed the sick in Port Harcourt, and prayed over countless souls in Abuja. Yet, as the years passed and his age climbed, a restlessness grew inside him. He had seen miracles. He had touched the lives of thousands. But had he truly proven his faith? Had he tested the limits of divine protection? On his 50th birthday, standing before a congregation of thousands in Ibadan, Elijah made a declaration that stunned the world. Fear is the enemy of faith. If Daniel could stand among lions and walk away untouched, then so shall I. I will enter the lion's den, and the God who shut the mouths of beasts for Daniel shall do the same for me. Gasps filled the church. Some cheered, believing in his unwavering faith. Others trembled, fearing he had gone too far. His wife, his children, his closest disciples begged him to reconsider. "Papa, even Jesus did not throw himself off the temple when tempted. Do not test God." But Elijah only smiled, his eyes burning with conviction. "I am not testing God," he said. "I am proving him." And so the stage was set. The Ibadan Zoo became the scene of what would be remembered for generations. On the chosen day, journalists, church members, skeptics, and believers gathered. A group of lions, large, powerful, and hungry, paced within their enclosure. Elijah stood before them, clutching his Bible, his white robe billowing in the breeze. He prayed. He sang. He stepped forward. The air was thick with tension. The crowd watched in hushed anticipation, as if holding their breath collectively. Some clutched their rosaries, others murmured silent prayers, while a few skeptics smirked, waiting to see faith meet reality. Elijah stood at the edge of the enclosure, a storm of emotions raging within him. He wasn't afraid, not yet, but his body felt the weight of this moment. Was this his destiny? Was this his final act of faith? His hands trembled slightly as he lifted his Bible, his voice rising in prayer, strong at first, then faltering, not with doubt, but with overwhelming reverence. He could feel the presence of God around him. He stepped forward, closer to the metal gate. The lions within prowled lazily, their golden eyes flickering with indifference, their muscular bodies shifting through the grass. Elijah turned to the gathered crowd. "This is faith. This is proof that God still moves among men. Watch and see that he is real." With that, he signaled to the zoo officials. There was hesitation. The zookeepers exchanged wary glances. Some had wanted to cancel the spectacle altogether, but Elijah's influence was too great, the pressure was too strong, and so the lock turned. The gate swung open. Elijah stepped in, time slowed. The murmur of the crowd faded. The only sound was the crunch of grass beneath his sandals. The scent of the animals, a mix of raw power and the musk of the wild, filled his nostrils. He walked steadily, his steps measured, his gaze locked onto the lions. Then the largest lion lifted its head. Its golden eyes met Elijah's. And in that instant, something shifted. The crowd gasped as the lion stood, slowly, deliberately, as though acknowledging his presence. Then another lion rose, then another. Elijah whispered under his breath, "You will not harm me, God is with me." But the lions were no men. They did not understand the words of faith. They understood hunger, instinct, survival. And then one of them moved. A slow, deadly step forward. A second followed. Then another. Elijah stiffened, gripping his Bible, sweat beading on his forehead. His lips moved rapidly in prayer, his heart pounding against his ribs. But the beasts did not stop. A growl rumbled through the air. A low, deep warning that echoed through every soul watching. And suddenly, faith had to meet fear. A scream cut through the air. It came from the crowd, a desperate, terrified cry. But Elijah didn't flinch. His eyes remained locked on the approaching lions, his lips murmuring words of faith. "I am covered in the blood of the Lamb. I am protected by the Most High. Just like Daniel, I will not be harmed." But the lions had no reverence for history. They knew no scripture. They saw only a man, standing alone, unarmed, vulnerable. The largest lion moved first, a slow, measured stride, muscles shifting beneath its golden fur. The others followed suit, their bodies lowering, their tails flicking in the evening breeze. The silence in the crowd was suffocating. People held their breath, their hands clutching their chests, their eyes wide with disbelief. Some had their phones raised, recording what could become either a miracle or a tragedy. Elijah raised his Bible higher, his voice rising. "You will not harm me. I come in the name of the Lord." And then the lion leaped. Time fractured. The crowd screamed. The air split with gasps, shouts, and the helpless cries of those who wished they could stop what was happening, but could only watch in horror. The lion crashed into Elijah with force, knocking him off his feet, his Bible tumbling from his grasp. A deafening roar followed. A second lion moved, then a third. Elijah's body twisted under their weight. He struggled, his hands pushing against thick fur, against claws like sharpened daggers. "Father, save me." The words tore from his throat, raw, desperate. But faith did not halt nature. The beast did what beasts do. Flesh tore. Blood darkened the earth. Elijah's screams rang out once, twice, then silence. The crowd stood frozen. Some fell to their knees, some dropped their phones, some turned away, unable to witness the unbearable reality. A woman, his wife, screamed his name. "Elijah! Elijah!" She rushed forward, but strong hands caught her, held her back. "No, no, God, please, someone stop them." But no one moved, no one could. Zoo officials scrambled for action, rifles raised, shouts of panic filling the air. But it was too late. When the lions finally retreated, when the chaos settled and the dust cleared, what remained was only what had once been a man of faith. The Bible lay beside him, untouched, its pages fluttering in the wind. And for the first time, in all his years of preaching, Elijah did not speak. News spread like wildfire. The prophet Elijah, known for his faith, his miracles, his devotion, had perished in the jaws of the very test he swore would prove God's power. Some called it a tragedy, others called it folly, but for those who had known him, who had loved him, the grief was unbearable. In the days that followed, candlelight vigils were held across the country. The congregation that once praised his courage now wept for the man who had gone too far. And yet, in some hearts, in quiet whispers, the question lingered. Had he truly lacked faith, or had God chosen not to intervene? no one would ever know. The lions did not speak of faith. They only remembered the scent of a man who stepped into their den, believing he could walk away. And in the end, all that remained were memories. Memories of a prophet. Memories of a man who dared fate. Memories of Elijah. Moral lesson. Faith is powerful, but wisdom must walk alongside it. Testing God is not the same as trusting Him. While belief can move mountains, it must be anchored in understanding, not blind recklessness. True faith does not seek to force miracles. It trusts in divine guidance, knowing that some boundaries exist for a reason. Wisdom and humility protect where arrogance and overconfidence may destroy. Hi besties, thank you so much for watching and staying to the end of this wonderful story. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do. It's free, as it helps us keep bringing you more amazing stories. Like, share, and drop your comments. Alright besties, I will see you in our video. Bye for now.